Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this month's Shotsuki Hoyo. We will begin this morning's service with the ringing of the kansho, followed by the reading of the Shotsuki names by Reverend Mukojima. Following the reading of the Shotsuki names, we will then begin sutra chanting of Sanbutsuge. After Sanbutsuge, we will then be led by the 5th and 6th grade class in the reading of the Golden Chain of Love. Following the Golden Chain, we will then listen to a Dharma Message by Reverend Mukojima. Please enjoy this morning's service.
Today, on this occasion of the Mountain View Buddhist Temple's April Shotsuki Memorial Service, we come before the image of Amida Buddha to express our sincere respect for and gratitude to the Shotsuki honorees. As I read the Shotsuki names, please join me in silent meditation so that we may think deeply on their continuing influence on our lives. Fujiko Abe, Harry Fuji, Shigeru Fuji, Naoe Fukuma, Ichihei Furusho, Juzaburo Furuzawa, Reverend Russell Hamada, Osamu Hirano, Tanejiro Hirano, Dorothy Horino, Robert Hoshida, Hiroichi Hoshino, Jun Ichikawa, Toshiko Ikebe, Tojiro Ishimaru, Eric Ives, Shizuko Iwata, Toshiko Juda, Yotsuo Juda, Shigehito Kashima, Akira Kato, Hatsue Kato, Kathleen Kobata, Setsuo Kuboyama, Kazuko Makishima, Tokiyo Maruyama, Ryu Masaki, George Matsuba, Kiwa Matsuba, Ryuichi Miyamoto, Emi Morishima, Fuji Nakano, Harue Nagatoishi, Jishiro Nakano, Iwao Nakao, Genjiro Nakashima, Henry Nishimura, Tomoe Okada, George Okashima, George Omori, Ochiyo Omori, Junpei Ozawa, Henry Liu, Margaret Sakino, James Sakuragi, Akiko Satake, Hiram Sarah, George Shimomoto, John Shimizu, Tom Shimoguchi, John Shinseki, Taichiro Sugimoto, Jeffrey Swartwood, Ko Tachibana, Fumie Takahashi, Amy Takaki, David Takegami, Toshihiro Tanaka, Heidi Terada, Megan Young, Koichi Yamashita, Fred Yonemoto, Tsune Yonemoto, Tsune no Yoshida. Please put your hands together in gassho to show our deepest feelings of gratitude to these deceased family and friends who have brought us together today to encounter the Buddha Dharma. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda
And now the 5th and 6th grade class will present the golden chain.
I am a link in the Buddhist golden chain of love that stretches around the world.
I must keep my link bright and strong.
I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself.
I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that my actions will result in not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also the happiness and or unhappiness as others as well.
May every link in the Buddha's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all obtain a perfect peace.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Namo
Namo Amida Butsu.
Now,
Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Namanda Butsu, 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 Namanda Butsu. All people are frightened by violence, and all people are afraid of death. Life is beloved by all people. Therefore, we must put ourselves in another person's place. We must not kill others, and we must teach others not to kill. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your participation in our online April Shotsuki Memorial Service this morning. I've been really dismayed recently by the chaotic situation created by hate crimes being committed against innocent people throughout the U.S. In the past year, all of us have been working together to cope with and overcome the COVID virus, which has been a genuine threat around the world. Although it's been really a challenge for all of us to change our normal day-to-day lives during the pandemic for the health and the safety of everyone around us, I assumed that everyone would take responsibility for their behavior, because I believe that everyone can get through this crisis with our wisdom and compassion. But in reality, we've witnessed too many individuals acting selfishly, going out in the public without wearing face masks, not maintaining a social distance, and so on. There are still groups which insist on the individual's right not to wear a face mask. Of course, it's very important to respect one's individual freedom. But freedom only comes with a responsibility. Our responsibility is to protect our loved ones and keep our community safe from the pandemic. Responsible freedom can put people who are sharing the same community, indeed the entire world, in danger. Even under the order to shelter in place, we saw young adults who defied orders by hosting a COVID party. They didn't feel a sense of danger or responsibility, and some of them became infected with the coronavirus. It is well understood there is a high possibility that we can infect others with this terrible virus. So, how could they act in such a selfish way? So even during this pandemic crisis, we clearly have witnessed people's ignorant and selfish side, rather than our wise and compassionate side. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it is a sad reality that anti-Asian hate crimes have been increasing throughout the country. Unfortunately, there are recent news stories about Asians being attacked or even killed by racists. Last year, the Black Lives Matter movement attracted a great deal of attention in this country after George Floyd appeared to have been cruelly suffocated by a police officer. Although that Black Lives Matter issue still has not been resolved, now acts of hate against Asian Americans prevail in the news. One example of this is the Atlanta spa shooting. 8 people lost their precious lives in this terrible shooting. It was really terrible tragedy caused by hate crime. Even the Asian elderly have been targeted. It breaks my heart to think how cruelly their lives and their dignity were ignored and denied. Our temple has lots of senior members, so I'm really concerned about their safety in this threatening atmosphere. Right now, in this time of hardship, good and decent people are seeking the healing which results from the love and the kindness we normally express in our daily interactions with others. But our current headlines are about Americans who are deliberately attacking the innocent out of ignorance and hatred. It is really far from the world of peace and tranquility we wish for. Whatever the reasons, the abuse and the murder of people cannot be justified nor forgiven in Buddhism. Unfortunately, reprehensible actions like these are not only limited to these cases, because for a long time racism and crimes against the people of color are deeply rooted in our communities. Countless innocent people have been killed or their human rights repeatedly trampled upon throughout American history. When we look back at World War II, both Japanese immigrants and Americans of Japanese ancestry living in the US were considered enemies. They were removed by force from their homes and lived in isolated concentration camps until the war ended. Because of ignorance and anti-Japanese sentiment, the US government chose not to respect the civil rights of some 110,000 people of Japanese ancestry living on the West Coast, and instead imprisoned them for the duration of the war. This is why the Japanese American community, which exists today, sincerely wishes that such tragic treatment will never be repeated to anyone who rightfully calls the US their home. But now, because the site of the first COVID infection was in China, Asian people in general are being ignorantly targeted for violence and abuse. At present, many American children of color live in fear and anxiety, even though the US is their beloved home country. How sad it is. I know that so many people have been stressed out and fearful because of the unprecedented situation our country finds itself in. No matter how much we tell ourselves that we should stay calm and mindful all the time, it's not at all easy to do when we are also worried about our jobs, our kids' education, the state of our economy, and so on. I'm not sure there has anything in recent history which has upset our peaceful daily lives more than the coronavirus pandemic. It is a global threat that is so complicated that even our leaders are unsure how it should be handled or controlled, even though we now have vaccines which promise immunity from the disease. Perhaps the very uncertainty of this difficult situation is what has caused some people to become easily irritated, capable of hurting others' feelings or even doing them harm. I think that's why there have been many incidents in this country where innocent people of Asian descent have been attacked or even killed by others who ignorantly associate the coronavirus with Asian faces. In times of crisis, our community must meet greater challenges like this and stand in solidarity with those who are being mistreated or even physically attacked because of hatred and ignorance. Now is the time to watch out for and support each other regardless of race or ethnicity as we overcome the COVID pandemic. I've realized that in our current situation, the fear of uncertainty is making many people impatient. Now, most people who are usually kind and patient might become aggressive and hurt the feelings of others by saying hurtful things they would usually avoid. Our founder Shinran Shoni said, "Under the influence of our karmic past, we human beings will do anything." We know this is true because we really don't know what we would do when faced with a fearful new situation. Unfortunately, we human beings are weak creatures, so we should also take care not to hurt the feelings of others even when we are feeling stressed. It helps to be mindful of Shinran's words and to remember the teaching of Golden Chain. Say pure and beautiful words, think pure and beautiful thoughts, and do pure and beautiful deeds. No one should ever discriminate against the other person just because we are feeling stressed out. In the opening meditation, I shared with you a Buddha saying in the Dhammapada, which goes, "All people are frightened by violence, and all people are afraid of death. Life is beloved by all people. Therefore, we must put ourselves in another person's place. We must not kill others, and we must teach others not to kill." These are some of the Buddha's most famous words, which I always keep in mind. The Buddha teaches us the importance of putting ourselves in another's situation. If all people can sincerely imagine they were being attacked by others, or that their human rights were being ignored by others, then they would never want to hurt other person out of hate was a sense of discrimination. They will realize how foolish and terrible it is to deny others' social identity and abuse their human rights. Buddha always encourages us to imagine ourselves in others' situation. If we are able to do so and consider honestly what our responses would be, then we may be able to understand how important it is to act on the side of racial justice, because it is for the sake of everyone around us, right? That's why I sincerely want many more people to listen to the Buddha's teaching. 2 things we can do to cope with this violence is to stand together against hate crimes and to share the tears of sadness and suffering of the Asian community. In order to avoid having our neighbors in this country become isolated under adverse circumstances, we should not remain silent when we witness outright injustice. We should confide in each other. We should listen to each other, and we should speak out together. That's how we can live together harmoniously. And we should discuss with our families and within our communities how foolish it is to have a feeling of hatred against a particular race. And also, I believe that it is most important for us to educate all children to cultivate their awareness of the universal value of our shared humanity, so that they can love and respect each other, irrespective of race, gender, and religion. We should also understand that as long as we are worried about violence and discrimination, nobody can live in peace and happiness. Amida Buddha is the compassionate Buddha with the wisdom of non-discrimination and non-judgment. This is manifested in the great compassion, which embraces all living beings just as they are. Amida Buddha doesn't reject anyone based on their age, gender, class, race, or any other label. This acknowledgement of the values of equality and justice is an ideal in our Jodo Shinshu tradition. This model of kindness and caring is what we must continually strive for. To be able to realize a society free from hate crimes, as a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist, with a Nembutsu as our mind's mirror, each one of us must be able to recognize and fight that deep-seated and the systemic racial discrimination which exists in ourselves, others, society, and this country. Let's, in this meaningful way, accept the responsibility to acknowledge and mourn the tragic death of all the victims by the anti-Asian hate crimes. Reflect deeply on the Buddhist spirit. May all beings be happy and well. I sincerely wish for all people who have this hope in their hearts to also contemplate the world without hatred, violence, and racism. And for the sake of young children of color who feel fearful and anxious during the current chaos in this country, we will continue our pledge of solidarity with others to address this injustice so that all people can accept their social identity, value their human rights, and enjoy the rich diversity among us. Mountain View Buddhist Temple is a sacred and a safe place which stands firmly together in the quest for equal treatment, which Buddha wishes for all of us. Again, thank you very much for your kind attention to my Dharma talk this morning. Please continue to stay safe and have a great Sunday. Thank you very much. Please join me in gassho. All people are frightened by violence, and all people are afraid of death. Life is beloved by all people. Therefore, we must put ourselves in another person's place. We must not kill others, and we must teach others not to kill. Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Thank you everybody for attending today's Shotsuki Hoyo service. Thank you to the 5th and 6th grade class for leading us in the Golden Chain of Love, and thank you to Reverend Mukojima for your Dharma message today. Reverend Mukojima's Dharma message comes at a very important time in our country, especially with the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes and the fight for Black Lives Matter that still goes on today. I think it's very wholesome in a way that Reverend Mukojima gave this Dharma talk today on Shotsuki Hoyo, where we remember those who came before us. And especially when we talked about the 8 lives that were lost a few weeks ago. I think the thing that stuck out to me the most in Reverend Mukojima's Dharma message today was that freedom must come with responsibility. We must be responsible in our actions and take into account that our actions really do impact others. Thank you so much, Sensei, for your Dharma message today. And thank you to everyone for coming. If you're interested, we have a Japanese language service and discussion, as well as an English discussion immediately following the service. Thank you again.